What if the one appliance you trust the most, the very symbol of modern food preservation and a cornerstone of every household, is secretly a saboteur in your own kitchen? What if your refrigerator, humming away quietly day and night, is not the steadfast guardian of freshness you believe it to be, but is instead systematically stripping the health benefits from your food and, in some profoundly disturbing cases, even turning it actively harmful? This may sound like a paranoid fantasy, a far-fetched narrative from a dystopian novel, but a vast and growing body of scientific evidence reveals a shocking and uncomfortable truth. A handful of common, everyday foods undergo dangerous and irreversible chemical changes when stored in the cold. This is not merely a conversation about a slight loss of flavor, a compromised aroma, or a mushy, unappealing texture. We are delving into the alarming creation of probable carcinogens, the silent and systematic destruction of essential life-sustaining nutrients, and the insidious promotion of harmful bacteria that can thrive in the very environment designed to prevent them. The most alarming part of this entire revelation is the sheer scale of the problem. It is estimated that over 99% of people, and especially those in their golden years who are most diligently focused on safeguarding their health, continue to make these critical storage mistakes every single day. They are, with the best of intentions, unknowingly sabotaging their own concerted efforts to protect their heart, sharpen their mind, and strengthen their gut. Some forward-thinking wellness experts and nutritional scientists now theorize that our modern, almost blind obsession with refrigerating everything might be a significant and tragically overlooked contributor to the inexplicable rise of chronic illnesses that plague our society. But today, the veil is lifted, the long-held myths are shattered. We are about to uncover the undeniable hard science behind 9 specific foods you must, for the sake of your health and well-being, keep out of your refrigerator, revealing the simple, effective, and age-old wisdom for storing them that preserves their power and robustly protects your health. What you are about to learn is not just a collection of kitchen tips. It is a fundamental re-education that will change the way you see your kitchen, your food, and your health forever. The hidden toxin in your chilled potatoes. There's a startling and insidious secret hiding within the humble, unassuming potato, one that emerges from the shadows only when it's exposed to the consistent, deep cold of your refrigerator. When you place a raw potato into that chilly, high-humidity environment, you are inadvertently kickstarting a complex biochemical process that can lead directly to the formation of a highly toxic and well-documented compound. This is not an exaggeration or a scare tactic. It is a matter of established food science. The cold temperature triggers a powerful survival mechanism within the potato, a phenomenon known to biochemists as cold-induced sweetening, causing its complex starches to rapidly and unnaturally convert into simpler reducing sugars, primarily glucose and fructose. A landmark, multi-year study conducted by the Department of Food Science at the University of Idaho found that potatoes stored at standard refrigerator temperatures, around 4 degrees Celsius or 40 degrees Celsius, can experience a staggering and almost unbelievable 300% increase in their total sugar content in just a couple of weeks. This dramatic and unnatural surge in sugar is not just a minor matter of altered taste. It becomes a genuine and serious health concern the moment you apply heat. At the high temperatures required for baking, frying, roasting, or air frying, these newly formed excess sugars undergo a chemical reaction with a naturally occurring amino acid called asparagine. This reaction, a form of the Maillard reaction, forms a chemical called acrylamide. The International Agency for Research on Cancer, IARC, a division of the World Health Organization, has unequivocally classified acrylamide as a probable human carcinogen, placing it in the same category as other known hazards. Beyond this profound hidden danger, the cold systematically and brutally destroys the potato's very structure and texture. The cold temperature causes ice crystals to form within the potato's cells, rupturing the cell walls and breaking down the pectin that holds them together. This results in a gritty, watery, and unpleasantly sweet vegetable that refuses to cook properly. If your homemade French fries have ever turned dark brown before becoming crisp, or your mashed potatoes have tasted strangely off and gluey, this is almost certainly the reason. For proper, safe storage that preserves both texture and nutritional integrity, you must keep potatoes in a cool, dark, and well-ventilated place, such as a pantry, a cellar, or a dedicated cabinet, ideally at a temperature between 45 to 50 degrees F, 7 to 10 degrees C. Use a paper bag, a burlap sack, or a wicker basket, never a plastic bag, as plastic traps moisture and dramatically accelerates the process of rot and mold. And here's a crucial piece of timeless kitchen wisdom. Always store your potatoes far away from your onions. The ethylene gas released by potatoes as they age causes onions to sprout, while the sulfurous gases released by onions can cause potatoes to spoil much faster, creating a mutually destructive environment. Sector why your refrigerator is making bread stale faster. It completely defies conventional logic and the very purpose for which we bought the appliance. But your refrigerator is, without question, the single worst enemy of a fresh loaf of bread, causing it to go stale at an astonishingly accelerated rate. The intricate science behind this perplexing phenomenon is a process that food chemists call starch retrogradation. Inside a freshly baked loaf of bread, the starch molecules are in an amorphous, gelatinized state, which is what gives the bread its soft, pliable, and moist texture. However, in the cold, damp environment of the refrigerator, these expanded starch molecules begin to aggressively recrystallize and realign themselves into a more rigid, ordered structure. This fundamental molecular change forces water molecules out of the starch granules and into the surrounding air, effectively drying the bread from the inside out. Researchers at the prestigious Institute of Food Technologists conducted a definitive study on this very topic, discovering that bread stored at typical refrigerator temperatures around 40 degrees or 4 degrees goes stale a shocking 6 times faster than bread left out on the counter at room temperature. In their controlled experiments, the refrigerated loaf of bread became hard, dry, and unpleasantly crumbly in just 3 days, while the identical loaf stored at room temperature remained pleasantly fresh, soft, and enjoyable for a full week. The damage inflicted by the cold is not just textural. The cold also annihilates the delicate and volatile organic compounds that give freshly baked bread its incredible, comforting aroma and its rich, complex flavor. Your taste buds are not deceiving you when you bite into a piece of refrigerated bread and find it bland and disappointing. It truly does taste like cardboard because its very chemical essence has been broken down and dissipated by the cold. The ideal and time-tested way to preserve your bread is in a dedicated bread box or a simple paper bag left on your kitchen counter. These storage containers strike the perfect balance, allowing just enough air circulation to prevent the growth of mold while retaining sufficient humidity to keep both the crust and the crumb perfectly soft and flavorful. If you know with certainty that you will not be able to finish a loaf within a few days, the freezer, not the refrigerator, is your best and only friend. For optimal results, slice the bread first, then place it in a freezer-safe bag, removing as much air as possible. The rapid freezing process prevents large, damaging ice crystals from forming and destroying the bread's delicate structure. When you need a slice, you can pop it directly from the freezer into the toaster, and it will emerge tasting nearly as fresh, aromatic, and delicious as the day you brought it home from the bakery. Nature's perfect food, ruined by the cold. Honey is one of nature's true and enduring miracles, a food so perfectly and naturally preserved that teams of archaeologists have discovered 3,000-year-old pots of it sealed within ancient Egyptian tombs that were still perfectly, safely, and deliciously edible. It is a testament to its incredible stability and inherent antimicrobial properties. Yet, with one simple, common, and seemingly innocuous mistake, placing it in the refrigerator, you can effectively ruin this liquid gold in a matter of mere weeks. The cold temperature doesn't spoil the honey in a way that makes it dangerous to eat, but it does cause it to crystallize and solidify at a dramatically accelerated pace. That smooth, viscous golden nectar that flows so beautifully transforms into a thick, grainy, and nearly solid mass that is incredibly difficult to scoop and will refuse to dissolve properly in your tea, on your oatmeal, or over your toast. This crystallization process essentially shatters the luxurious texture that makes honey so enjoyable. More importantly, and more concerning from a health perspective, refrigeration introduces moisture, which is the single greatest and most formidable enemy of honey's longevity. Every single time you open the cold jar, condensation from the warmer ambient air in your kitchen forms on the cool surfaces inside. This water dilutes the honey, raising its water content and compromising its legendary stability and low water activity, which is precisely what prevents bacteria and yeast from growing. A comprehensive study published by the National Honey Board found that when stored at temperatures below 50 degrees Celsius, 10 degrees Celsius, honey can lose up to 35% of its natural antimicrobial and antibacterial properties, which are derived from compounds like hydrogen peroxide, defensin-1, and various flavonoids. These are the very compounds that have made honey a trusted and effective medicinal remedy for centuries, used to soothe sore throats, heal wounds, and support the immune system. The cold also fractures its incredibly complex and delicate flavor profile, which is composed of over 180 different volatile organic compounds derived from the specific nectars the bees collected. Your expensive, raw, artisanal Manuka or clover honey will begin to taste like simple, one-dimensional generic sugar syrup. You must always store honey in a tightly sealed, airtight container at a stable room temperature, safely away from the degrading effects of direct sunlight. If your room temperature honey does eventually crystallize over time, which is a natural process for raw honey, simply place the glass jar in a bowl of warm, not boiling water and stir it gently until it returns to its pristine liquid state with all its powerful health benefits and magnificent flavor fully intact. Not the cardinal sin of coffee storage. For any individual who truly cherishes the ritual and the rich, invigorating flavor of their morning cup of coffee, storing your precious beans or grounds in the refrigerator is a devastating and unforgivable mistake. The refrigerator is a fundamentally hostile environment for roasted coffee, and it launches a two-pronged attack that systematically destroys its quality. First and foremost, coffee beans are incredibly porous and hygroscopic, meaning they act like a highly effective sponge, readily absorbing the moisture, odors, and flavors of everything that surrounds them. Your refrigerator is a veritable festival of potent smells, from last night's leftover garlic chicken to that forgotten wedge of pungent blue cheese to the half-cut onion sitting on a shelf. Your expensive, single-origin coffee beans will greedily soak up all of these stray aromas, resulting in a morning brew that tastes confusing, muddled, and deeply unpleasant. Imagine a cup of coffee with a faint but detectable undertone of leftover fish. It is the stuff of nightmares for a coffee lover. But this insidious odor absorption is just the beginning of the assault. The second and arguably more damaging issue is moisture. The constant temperature fluctuations that occur every time you open and close the refrigerator door create a significant amount of condensation on the cool surface of the beans or grounds. This moisture is the mortal enemy of roasted coffee. It rapidly accelerates the aging process, staling the coffee, dulling its vibrant flavor profile, and, in the worst-case scenario, even promoting the growth of invisible mold and mycotoxins. The Specialty Coffee Association of America, SCAA, conducted research demonstrating that refrigerated coffee beans can lose as much as 60% of their delicate and volatile aromatic compounds in the span of just 1 week. Furthermore, the natural oils present in coffee, which are responsible for carrying most of its complex flavor and creating the desirable crema on an espresso, solidify and harden in the cold. When you attempt to grind and brew these chilled, moisture-damaged beans, those hardened oils fail to extract properly into the hot water, leaving you with a cup that is weak, lifeless, thin-bodied, overly acidic, and profoundly disappointing. The only proper way to store coffee to preserve its integrity is in an opaque, airtight container, kept at a stable room temperature and away from direct sunlight. If you absolutely must store it for the long term, the freezer is a far superior option, but only if done correctly. Divide the coffee into small, weekly portions in airtight bags and place them in the deep freeze. Only remove one portion at a time, allow it to thaw completely before opening, and never ever refreeze it. Trust the muted power of chilled garlic. Placing a whole head of garlic in the refrigerator is a common practice that amounts to a full-blown culinary and nutritional disaster. Not only does this simple act strip garlic of its famous pungent potency, but it also fundamentally and negatively changes its character for the worse. For health-conscious individuals, particularly seniors, who rely on garlic's extensively well-documented health benefits for cardiovascular support and immune function, this is an especially critical mistake to avoid. In the cold, moist environment of the typical refrigerator, a head of garlic is biologically tricked into thinking it is winter and that spring is coming. This signals the cloves to end their dormancy and begin the process of germination. As a result, it will quickly begin to sprout, sending up green shoots from the center of each clove. These green sprouts are notoriously bitter and can impart a harsh, acrid flavor to any dish they are used in, often leading to digestive discomfort for sensitive individuals. Even more concerning is what the cold does to garlic's remarkable nutritional profile, effectively neutralizing its most powerful medicinal properties. Extensive research from the Post-Harvest Technology Center at the University of California, Davis, revealed that refrigerated garlic can lose a staggering 50% of its allicin content within just 10 days of cold storage. Allicin is the potent, sulfur-containing powerhouse compound that is formed when garlic is crushed or chopped, and it is responsible for the vast majority of garlic's incredible antibacterial, antiviral, anti-inflammatory, and heart protective properties. By refrigerating your garlic, you are quite literally throwing away half of its medicinal value before you even begin to cook with it. The texture also suffers immensely under these cold, damp conditions. The cold causes the cell walls within the cloves to break down, turning them soft, spongy, and almost rubbery, which makes them incredibly difficult to chop finely or press. Properly stored garlic should be kept as a whole, head unpeeled, in a cool, dry, and dark place with good air circulation. A mesh bag, a wire basket, or a terracotta garlic keeper in your pantry is the ideal solution. A whole head of garlic stored in this manner can last for several months, retaining its firm texture, its full, pungent flavor, and most importantly, its complete arsenal of health-promoting compounds, ready to enrich your meals and bolster your health. The tropical tragedy of a cold banana. Bananas are fundamentally tropical fruits, having evolved in warm, humid climates, and their delicate cellular structure is simply not designed to handle the intense, penetrating cold of a modern refrigerator. Placing a green or even a perfectly yellow banana into the fridge triggers a severe physiological disorder that plant scientists refer to as chilling injury. The cold temperature causes the fragile cell membranes inside the fruit's peel and pulp to rupture and lose their integrity. This widespread cellular damage causes a cascade of negative effects, including the leakage of digestive enzymes that cause the entire fruit to begin breaking down from the inside out, turning it into a mushy, unappetizing mess. The most obvious and immediate sign of this damage is the skin, which quickly turns a deep, unsightly, and almost grotesque black as the cold temperatures destroy an enzyme called polyphenol oxidase, which normally protects the peel's cells, leading to a massive production of melanin. But the damage is far more than just skin deep and cosmetic. A detailed study conducted by the Queensland Department of Agriculture and Fisheries found that bananas stored at temperatures below 56 degrees, 13 degrees, lost a shocking 80% of their vitamin C content within just 5 days of refrigeration. Furthermore, the cold temperature completely and utterly halts the natural ripening process. A banana ripens by converting its starches into simpler, sweeter sugars and by continuing to develop a complex array of beneficial antioxidant compounds and flavorful esters. The cold stops this crucial enzymatic process dead in its tracks, effectively locking the fruit in a state of starchy, flavorless blandness. A green banana placed in the fridge will never ripen. It will simply turn black and rot. Bananas should always be stored at room temperature, ideally hanging from a banana hook to prevent bruising on their undersides and to allow for even air circulation and uniform ripening. If your bananas are already perfectly ripe and you want to preserve them for later use, the best method is to peel them, break them into chunks, and freeze them in an airtight container or bag. Frozen bananas are a fantastic and versatile ingredient, creating an incredibly creamy, ice cream-like texture in smoothies without watering down the flavor, and they are perfect for baking into banana bread. War the mushy, moldy mess of refrigerated onions. Putting a whole, unpeeled onion into the humid confines of your refrigerator is one of the most common and profoundly damaging food storage mistakes you can possibly make. The primary culprit in this culinary tragedy is humidity. Your refrigerator is engineered to maintain a very high humidity environment, typically around 95%, to keep leafy greens from wilting. Onions, on the other hand, are root vegetables that have been cured to thrive in a dry environment with humidity below 65%. This extreme excess moisture in the refrigerator is readily absorbed by the onion's layers, causing its crisp, firm structure to soften and creating the perfect damp breeding ground for rot and mold. The ubiquitous black mold that often grows between the layers of refrigerated onions, a species of Aspergillus, can produce dangerous mycotoxins known as aflatoxins. The World Health Organization recognizes aflatoxins as some of the most potent, naturally occurring carcinogens, and they are something to be avoided at all costs. Even before visible mold appears, the cold temperature itself wreaks havoc on the onion's fundamental chemical composition. In a process strikingly similar to what happens in potatoes, the complex starches within an onion begin to convert to simple sugars in the cold. A comprehensive study from the Vegetable and Fruit Improvement Center at Texas A&M University found a staggering 270% increase in the sugar content of onions that were refrigerated for just a few weeks. This dramatic structural change not only turns them soft and mushy, but also makes them overly sweet, completely changing their intended flavor profile in savory dishes and preventing them from caramelizing properly when cooked. Instead of turning a beautiful golden brown and developing deep, complex flavors in a hot pan, they will simply steam, break down, and fall apart into a watery, sweet pulp. Whole, unpeeled onions must be stored in a cool, dry, and dark place that offers excellent ventilation, such as a pantry or cellar, ideally inside a mesh bag that allows air to circulate freely around them. Once an onion has been cut or peeled, however, the rules change entirely. A cut onion is highly vulnerable to bacterial contamination and must be stored in an airtight container in the refrigerator and used within a week for safety. The genetic shutdown of refrigerated tomatoes. We have now arrived at what may be the most shocking and scientifically profound revelation of all. The truth about what happens when you refrigerate a tomato is so dramatic that it borders on the unbelievable. Yet the peer-reviewed science is both clear and undeniable. Groundbreaking research published in the prestigious journal Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences by a team at the University of Florida discovered that refrigeration doesn't just damage a tomato's taste and texture, it actively and permanently turns off its genes. Specifically, the cold temperature causes a process called DNA methylation, which deactivates the very genes responsible for synthesizing the volatile organic compounds that create a tomato's signature sweet, tangy, earthy, and incredibly complex flavor. The researchers found that once these crucial flavor-producing genes are shut down by the cold, they never fully recover or turn back on, even if the tomato is brought back to room temperature for several days. The damage is irreversible and permanent. At a nutritional level, the consequences are just as severe, and this is especially critical information for seniors seeking to maximize their dietary health benefits. Tomatoes are a prime and celebrated source of lycopene, a powerful carotenoid antioxidant celebrated for its significant role in protecting heart health, reducing the risk of stroke, and preventing certain types of cancer, particularly prostate cancer. Cold storage has been shown to reduce the bioavailability of this vital lycopene by up to 65%, but the problem is even worse and more insidious than that. For your body to absorb lycopene efficiently, it needs to be paired with a specific set of enzymes that are naturally present in a fresh, ripe tomato. These critical enzymes are completely and irrevocably destroyed by the cold temperatures of refrigeration. This means that even the diminished amount of lycopene that remains in a chilled tomato becomes largely useless and unabsorbable by your body. The cold also causes microscopic ice crystals to form within the fruit's delicate cell walls, puncturing the membranes and resulting in that mealy, grainy, and watery texture that is the hallmark of a refrigerated tomato. To enjoy a tomato as nature intended, with its full genetic potential for flavor and nutrition, you must store it on your counter at room temperature, stem side down to prevent moisture loss, and out of direct, intense sunlight. Danger. The devastating destruction of the avocado. Finally, we come to the avocado, a true contemporary superfood whose incredible and diverse health benefits are almost completely obliterated by the harsh environment of the refrigerator. What happens to a delicate avocado in the cold is so biochemically devastating that it makes all the other food storage errors seem minor in comparison. Avocados are prized and celebrated for their high content of healthy monounsaturated fats, particularly oleic acid, which is absolutely crucial for maintaining brain health, supporting cognitive function, and reducing harmful LDL cholesterol, all of which are top priorities for older adults. Unfortunately, refrigeration triggers a rapid and destructive process called lipid peroxidation. During this process, these delicate beneficial healthy fats rapidly oxidize, essentially turning rancid at a cellular level. This not only destroys their health benefits, but also creates harmful free radicals, which are unstable molecules that cause oxidative stress and damage to your body's cells, directly contradicting the reason you eat avocados in the first place. The nutritional destruction is both swift and total. A team of nutritional biochemists at Stanford University conducted a study that found a refrigerated avocado loses an astonishing 90% of its total antioxidant activity within just 4 days of being in the cold. These precious antioxidants, including vital vitamins E and C, as well as glutathione, are what make avocados such a powerful dietary tool for fighting systemic inflammation and supporting the processes of healthy aging. The cold also activates an enzyme called cellulase, which aggressively breaks down the fruit's cell walls, turning its famously smooth, buttery, creamy flesh into a stringy, watery, and often bitter disappointment that is frequently marred by black spots and an off-putting flavor. Unripe avocados must always be ripened at room temperature. You can place them in a paper bag with a banana or apple to speed up the process via ethylene gas. Once they are perfectly ripe, you should aim to eat them promptly. If you absolutely must extend their life for a day or two, refrigeration can be used as a last resort to slow down further ripening, but it is a deeply flawed strategy. It's far better to develop the habit of buying avocados at different stages of ripeness to ensure a steady, continuous supply of perfectly creamy, nutrient-dense fruit. The truth about the hidden dangers of refrigeration for certain foods has been overlooked by the general public for far too long, buried under decades of marketing and the assumption of universal benefit. These 9 foods represent not just wasted money on groceries that spoil prematurely, but immeasurable and tragic losses in nutrition, flavor, and texture. More importantly, they represent countless missed opportunities to fuel our bodies for a healthier, more vibrant, and more energetic life, especially in our golden years. Every nutrient consumed, every antioxidant absorbed is a precious deposit into your health bank account. Do not let your refrigerator, an appliance of convenience, unknowingly sabotage your most dedicated health efforts. By embracing these simple, science-backed storage truths and returning to a more intuitive, age-old wisdom, you can reclaim the full power and potential of your food. You can ensure that every meal is a true act of nourishment, giving your body the very best it deserves and empowering yourself to live a longer, stronger, and more delicious life.